via very different campaigns. Some have come through the GoFundMe for freedom of speech. Other people have come from Save Cary Green, Torquay Pavilion campaign, some Oldway Mansions, and some from Preston Parents and Residents Against Toxic Dust. So you might be wondering what all these different groups have got in common and what unites us all here today. Well, we all represent the community groups where desires of developers to make a profit have taken precedent over our wishes, desires of the community, and even the legitimate health concerns of our communities. We've all been let down by many of our elected representatives who have allowed themselves to be bullied, coerced into accommodating developers, rather than actually standing up for the communities and the people that they represent, which is us guys. We put them in power, we pay their money. So we've all contributed, everybody is here, has all contributed in some way to speaking out and standing up for our interests, the interests of the communities and our heritage. And we all get accused of being the vocal minority, to which I actually proclaim very proudly, yes, we are. We are the vocal minority who represent the silent majority.
Yes,
we are. Right. Well, some of you will know that myself, John T, and Paul Fraser, who unfortunately couldn't be here this afternoon, worked together for Save Cary Green and Torquay Pavilion. Many of you know that I was threatened with legal action by NJG, the developers, or the proposed developers for across the road. And I know that many of you are curious to know how this came about. So basically, the leading heritage experts in the country, Historic England, Victorian Society, Historic Gardens Trust, have all, without exception, condemned the plans put forward for Torquay Harbourside. So that's not just people like me and you who we get accused of being moaners. These are the leading heritage experts in the country who agree with us that this is not appropriate for this part of our town. In order to comply with the National Planning Policy Framework, the developer has to show that the damage that they're going to cause to the conservation area, Torquay Pavilion, and over 80 listed buildings, including the one we're in now, which is a listed buildings. Some of these buildings are grade 1 listed, including an entire terrace. They need to show that they can be justified, this damage can be justified by the economic benefits that this development will bring to us, to the community and to the people of Torbay. Now, having an honours degree in economics and having run my own government licensed business for several years helped me to wade through the economic justification put forward by the developers. So, the Herald Express cover that I am a Paignton housewife, yes I am. But I also run a government licensed business and have a degree in foreign languages and also a degree in economics. So I think I'm pretty well qualified to actually stand up on an intellectual basis, one-to-one with any of our councillors. So I was immediately struck when I read it by the errors and inaccuracies. Now, I got done for libel. This may well be slander, but these are my words, this is my piece, and I will not be silenced. I was immediately struck by the errors and inaccuracies that were contained in the economic report. And there was such a profound degree of gloss that I came to the conclusion that this was intentional. As I thought they were a large professional company, they won't make mistakes like that by accident. Now, maybe I was naive and maybe I was inexperienced, but then according to Councillor Kingscote, who's chairman of the DMC, which is the Design Management Committee, which is the planning committee, in an article in the Herald Express, a copy of which is on the information table over there, so are the planning committee. Inexperienced, and therefore he wants to take them on a tour of other projects put forward by this same developer. So I questioned the economic justification, as is my right to do as a member of the community, a member of the public, on any matter of public interest. And I think the largest development our town has seen since the 1980s really and truly is a matter of public interest. And it's all our interest, and we all have the right to comment and to say exactly what we think and to express our personal opinion, which is where I went wrong because they didn't like my personal opinion about them as a company. There was never any question about the economic facts that I put forward and the things that I questioned. The only questions and the only reason they took legal action against me is because they didn't like the conclusions that I drew about them as a company, and I drew the conclusion that I felt that that degree of gloss could only ever be intentional. You can't make mistakes like that. You can't put, it's going to create 156 jobs. Next paragraph say 176 jobs, and then on your covering letter say it's going to create over 200 jobs. You've got to make up your mind, and that is not an economic justification. That's chucking out numbers there that don't necessarily, they're not backed up and don't mean anything. Their staffing ratios are not backed up whatsoever by their other staffing ratios at other hotels. So I pointed out these errors, questioning all those things, and the Salcombe, and basing it on the Salcombe Harbour development, to which this development is endlessly being compared. We're forever hearing what a wonderful job they've done in Salcombe. So the developers seem to completely miss the point that I was only trying to establish a clear and accurate picture of what was truly on offer for us, the local community, in terms of jobs and economic benefits. We still have not had answers to those questions. These questions still remain unanswered, and I believe that their action was nothing short of a tactic to bury my pertinent questions, to bury it under until the various bodies and authorities such as English Heritage and maybe lots of others, I won't name, until they'd formed their opinion based on the gloss that was put forward by the developer. I don't believe we have an economic justification as yet. I believe we have an outline one and we have an emerging one, but we do not have a definitive one. And my legal representatives agreed with me that the legal action was nothing more than an attempt to gag me and deny me my freedom of speech. This isn't the first time that this tactic has been used and successfully in Torbay. The developers of Oldway, Acheron, also used this tactic to silence a campaigner against the development at Oldway. And that person wishes to remain private. However, I can assure you it happened to them. Again, the developer achieved exactly what they wanted with the action, and they dropped it just before it came to court, which of course leaves you with no way to recover your legal costs, and they write it off against the cost of putting through their planning and their development. And this seems to be an increasing tactic by developers. Again, the developers achieved what they wanted. Are there any representatives of the Oldway campaign here? No. I'm afraid I can't give you much more details about Oldway because I've been concentrating on the pavilion. So lastly, some of you will be here through your support of the Preston Parents and Residents Against Toxic Dust, and some of you will never have even heard of this campaign. This group has been fighting an uphill battle for many years to try and get Torbay Council to exercise its duty of care towards the community and the decontamination of a highly contaminated soil directly below Preston Primary School and in the heart of the communities of Preston and Livermead. Even though the council are well aware that this work will be releasing arsenic, cyanide, benzylopyrenes and other toxins into the air which we breathe, and that can carry for approximately 2-mile radius, it's taken vigorous campaigning and the intervention of the Secretary of State in order for the developers to be forced to put in any kind of safety measures. And our council were happy to let this go ahead with no safety measures in place for the community. They put in real-time dust monitors that measure the levels of toxic dust and an alert system for the school and the community. And all these safety measures are being ignored on a daily basis. They're being absolutely ignored. Torbay Council didn't feel that they were necessary and therefore they are not enforcing the conditions properly. The real-time monitors are showing very high readings, over 4 times the evacuation threshold, but only workers are being evacuated from the site. Children are not being evacuated from the school, and the residents in the area, we've just found out that in December we were exposed to over 4 times the accepted level of dust. That's non-toxic dust, and we've been exposed to dust that contains cyanide, arsenic and other poisons. So you're probably wondering how this ties in with what we've got now. So I'll tell you. The Freedom of Information request to get a breakdown of the toxins that we're breathing in to Torbay Council. At first, Torbay Council denied having that information. And finally, when they actually admitted that they had that information, they declared that it's their intellectual property. So there you go, guys. We've got no freedom of information, and there you have it. Your air you are breathing is officially the intellectual property of Torbay Council. Hooray! Jules and Andrew, who's somewhere over there with the hands up, these are the people to talk to, and Leon Butler, if he's around, he might be back. These are the people to talk to if you have any interest in that side of things, and the readings for December to January showing that we're being poisoned are down there. Printed out from the council's own website. So, where does that leave us? No freedom of speech, no freedom of information, and under the current editor, Jim Parker, I really don't think we have a lot of freedom of press either. So, where does that leave us? What kind of democracy are we living in? We have a system that gives one person absolute power over us, and all he needs is one more vote than his rival in order to exercise that power. But it needs a 2/3 majority of a council to go against his decision. So he needs one vote, and we need 2/3 of the vote. I thought we lived in a democracy, but when 12% of the electorate can give one person absolute power to act and treat our town as their personal fiefdom, then democracy, I'm sorry, is failing. But today, in our dictatorship, for one day, in Torquay, here, I feel that we represent the unofficial opposition for the day. So, let's do it in style, be the community that we'd like to be, let's demonstrate our unity, exercise our freedoms, and proudly shout out the civic pride that's in our hearts. Thank everybody, thank you all for coming. Yes. There's all kinds of information on the table over there, and around about 4 o'clock it'd be great if we could all get out to Cary Green or in front of the Pavilion and have our photos taken together, show our solidarity for one another. Thanks for coming and have a great time. Enjoy the music.
Thank you. We've got so much we can lose. 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 Don't say never. Don't say no. Don't say never. Don't